Well, hello there. Welcome back to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. Well, I'm excited today to continue our Taste Director series. This is a series that we do on the channel where each month we'll take a video and we'll turn the spotlight on a particular director or filmmaker, and we'll talk a little bit about their background, and we'll talk about 3 to 4 films from that director's filmography to give you a taste of what she or he has done in contributing to the world of cinema. Now, as I said before, choosing 3 to 4 films, by no means is that going to give a full depth and breadth of what a director has to offer, especially if they've been in the film industry for any length of time. But the idea is to just choose a few films from that director's work so that you can get at least a taste of what that director has to offer. It gives you an idea of, okay, here are some films that they've done. Here's a little bit about what they've contributed to the world of cinema. And if you've never had a chance to watch this director's work before, or if you've never even heard of the director, could be an opportunity for discovery. I know for me, one of the benefits of doing this YouTube channel, being part of this film community, one of the reasons why I follow the Criterion Collection is because of discovery. I get to discover new films. I get to discover new directors that I hadn't heard of before. The most recent example of that is Boat People, the recent release from Criterion that I had a chance to watch and review on this channel from director Anh Huy. I learned a lot about that film and learned so much about that director that I had previously not heard of. So for me, it's all about discovery. I discover so much from your comments and what you share on this channel, and I hope that you have a chance to discover something as well. So in today's director spotlight, we're gonna talk about a director who I have tremendous admiration for. This is a director that has his own signature, unique style and brand of filmmaking. So much so that when you see one of his films, there is no mistaking that you're watching a Wes Anderson film. So today's spotlight is on none other than director Wes Anderson. So let me tell you a little bit about Wes Anderson. So I'm gonna go to the internet here to Wikipedia, of course, why not? Wesley Wells Anderson, he was born in May of 1969 in Houston, Texas. He was born to Texas Ann Anderson and Melver Leonard Anderson. Now, his parents divorced when he was 8 years old. Wes was the middle of 3 sons, so they had 3 sons. He was the middle child, and his brother Mel is a physician, and his younger brother, Eric Chase Anderson, is an artist and illustrator. Now, Eric Chase Anderson has done the artwork for a lot of Criterion Collection editions that are just wonderful editions that are just wonderful. And he's done a great job illustrating some of the artwork inside these editions. That's from Eric Chase Anderson. And so Wes Anderson, he graduated from St. John's School in Houston in 1987. St. John's School is a location in one of his films, Rushmore. As a young child, he did silent films using his dad's Super 8mm camera. He starred his brothers and friends in those films. He worked as a cinema projectionist part-time during his time at the University of Texas, Austin, where he met his friend Owen Wilson, who would go on to star in many of his films and was his roommate at the University of Texas. And in 1991, he graduated with a BA in philosophy. Now, Wes Anderson's first film is the film that you see up here on the screen. This is the menu for Bottle Rocket, which is an early edition from Criterion. This is one of the very early Blu-rays from Criterion, along with Chungking Express. One of the very first Blu-rays to be released from the Criterion Collection is Bottle Rocket, the first feature film from Wes Anderson. So he would do Bottle Rocket first, then he would go on to do Rushmore, The Royal Tenenbaums, and so forth and so on, all the way up to his most recent release, which I did a review on this channel, The French Dispatch. So that is a little bit about Wes Anderson. He has been nominated for multiple Academy Awards, multiple awards. He is a very highly recognized filmmaker, and he is seen as one of the most innovative and inventive filmmakers of our day. He is an absolute genius and auteur. And like I said, when you see one of his films, you understand his very unique approach to filmmaking from an art design standpoint, from a storytelling standpoint. His stories are very eccentric, very quirky. and eccentric in their style of storytelling. The style of the characters are presented. Everything is just presented in its own unique, eccentric Wes Anderson way that is his own unique vision. And that theme runs through all of his films, and it's his own visionary style that I greatly appreciate. So that is the style of Wes Anderson films. I didn't do a good job of describing it, but basically I'll leave you with his films are eccentric, are quirky, and they're very unique in the way that he tells stories, the way that he presents stories, the art design that he presents in his films is all part of his unique and signature style. Now, the 4 films that I'm gonna present in this Taste Director series for Wes Anderson are right here. These are the 4 films I'm gonna focus on. And all 4 of these films are films that are in the Criterion Collection, some of which feature the artwork of his brother, Eric Anderson. And the first film is a film from 1998, is his second film, Rushmore. So we'll talk about Rushmore. We'll talk about the Royal Tenenbaums from 2001. We'll talk about his stop motion animation film, one of 2 that he has done, 2009's Fantastic Mr. Fox. And we will talk about one of my very favorites of his, 2014, The Grand Budapest Hotel. So these are the 4 films we're gonna talk about in our Taste of Wes Anderson. Let's start off with Rushmore. So Rushmore is a film from 1998, stars Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, and Olivia Williams. And this is a very interesting, eccentric, quirky coming of age story where Jason Schwartzman plays a high schooler. He's going through a lot of things growing up. He's having trouble in school. He falls in love with a elementary school teacher played by Olivia Williams. She's older than him. It would not be an appropriate relationship, so she's keeping that distance. And he also befriends Bill Murray, who is a millionaire. And that triangle between the 3 is a huge part of the driving force of the narrative of this film, Rushmore. It's a great coming of age story. I'll read the description on the back here of the Criterion edition. It says, the dazzling sophomore film from Wes Anderson is equal parts coming of age story, French New Wave homage, and screwball comedy. 10th grader Max Fisher, Jason Schwartzman, is Rushmore Academy's most extracurricular student and is least scholarly. He faces expulsion and enters into unlikely friendships with both a lovely first grade teacher, Olivia Williams, and a melancholy self-made millionaire, Bill Murray, in an award-winning performance. Set to a soundtrack of classic British invasion tunes, Rushmore defies categorization, capturing the pain and exuberance of adolescence with wit, emotional depth, and cinematic panache. So this is a great addition from Criterion. Of course, inside you have just wonderful artwork. And all of these additions from Criterion include incredible artwork. Like this is a map of Rushmore. It is a map of Max Fisher's Rushmore, the world of Max Fisher. Just absolutely incredible. Did you see that? Sorry. Just absolutely incredible. And a lot of this artwork in these Criterion releases was done by his brother, Eric Anderson. So this is a great film. Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, Olivia Williams, great coming of age story, Rushmore. It's his second film and it's absolutely brilliant. I recently had a chance to revisit the film. I hadn't seen it in a long time and it is absolutely fantastic. Now this next film might be my favorite of his films. This is from 2001. It's The Royal Tenenbaums. And this is an absolutely crazy film about a dysfunctional family. Basically, is the best way I can describe it. You've got it's the Royal Tenenbaums. Gene Hackman plays Royal Tenenbaum. He is the patriarch of a family. He is married to Angelica Houston's Evangeline Tenenbaum. And they are married, they have 3 children, and soon thereafter they get divorced. And she raises the kids. The kids are played by Ben Stiller, Luke Wilson, and Gwyneth Paltrow. They grow up, and they basically grow up without having a close relationship with Gene Hackman, with Royal Tenenbaum. So Royal Tenenbaum is estranged from the family, and he doesn't really have a whole lot to do with his kids growing up. So much so that he doesn't even know his grandchildren, has never met them, Ben Stiller's kids. So this story is largely about the reconciliation of Royal Tenenbaum with his kids and with his family, and how he sort of makes amends for time that's been lost. And so this is a great family story with Wes Anderson's quirky style of presentation. There's just a lot of comedy in here. Danny Glover plays a really cool role in this film. He's the love interest of Angelica Houston's character. Now that Royal, they've been divorced, so Danny Glover is sort of in with Evangeline Tenenbaum. That's an interesting part of the story. Owen Wilson is in this as well. This is a really quirky, eccentric family story about dysfunction and reconciliation. So The Royal Tenenbaums is definitely highly recommended. Love this film. Of course, you can see the art on here, and it also follows a similar style of quirky, eccentric art style. And a lot of this is from, of course, Eric Anderson. I didn't show that long enough for it to focus. Eric Anderson. But yeah, The Royal Tenenbaums, I recently rewatched it as well. It's just an absolutely brilliant film that I highly, highly recommend. If you have not seen Rushmore or The Royal Tenenbaums, definitely check those out. The next film is a film that Wes Anderson did back in 2009, and it's a very unique film. It's a stop motion animation film, and this is a film I have not seen in a long time, and it's 2009's Fantastic Mr. Fox. Now, this film stars George Clooney, Meryl Streep, Jason Schwartzman, Willem Dafoe, Michael Gambon, and Bill Murray. Bill Murray, you'll hear that common theme. Bill Murray has starred in almost all of Wes Anderson's films. And that's one of the trademarks of Wes Anderson, is that his films typically feature a large cast, large ensemble cast, and he's known for working with the same actors over multiple films. Bill Murray being the biggest example of that. So he's worked with Bill Murray on multiple films, Jason Schwartzman on multiple films, Willem Dafoe has appeared in a few of his films. And so a lot of these actors have appeared multiple times. Adrian Brody has appeared in a number of Wes Anderson films, so forth and so on. So I think this is the only one that George Clooney has been in. And it's Fantastic Mr. Fox. This is a stop motion picture, and it's a story of a clever, quick, nimble, and exceptionally well-dressed wild animal. A compulsive chicken thief turned newspaper reporter, Mr. Fox settles down with his family in a new foxhole in a beautiful tree directly adjacent to 3 enormous poultry farms owned by 3 ferociously vicious farmers, Bogus, Bunsey, and Bean. Mr. Fox simply cannot resist. Wes Anderson's adaptation of Roald Dahl's, a classic children's novel, is a meticulous work of stop motion animation featuring vibrant performances by George Clooney, Meryl Streep, Jason Schwartzman, Willem Dafoe, Michael Gambon, and Bill Murray. So I have not seen this film in a long time. I definitely need to revisit it. I've forgotten a lot of it. I remember it being an incredibly beautiful film from an artistic standpoint, and just the art of stop motion animation is almost a lost art form. And I think that Wes Anderson beautifully revives it in Fantastic Mr. Fox and in a more recent film that I'll mention toward the end. But this is an amazing film. I need to revisit it. I want to see it again. And this is a great addition from the Criterion Collection. This is actually a digibook from the Criterion Collection, and it's just wonderful. Wonderful digibook presentation. Of course, on the inside here, this is one of those dual format editions. You see the tree here in wonderful color and in black and white. All makes for just fantastic packaging in this beautiful Digipack edition. That's a dual format edition from Criterion. Fantastic, Fantastic Mr. Fox from 2009. And then the last film that I'll talk about here is a film that's more recent, even more recent. It's from 2014, and this film stars Ralph Fiennes and it is the Grand Budapest Hotel. This is another phenomenal film from Wes Anderson that has such a beautiful art style to it that I absolutely love. This is just a great, great film. It stars, of course, you have Ralph Fiennes in here, and he has a young protege named Zero, Tony Revolori, who plays a young man who ultimately comes in possession of the Grand Budapest Hotel. F. Murray Abraham tells the story in flashback format of how, as a young boy, he got to know Monsieur Gustave, played by Ralph Fiennes, who is the concierge of the Grand Budapest Hotels, and how their adventures together, Ralph Fiennes' Gustave with Tony Revolori's Zero, who's a young bellboy, how their adventures eventually lead to the Grand Budapest Hotel's ownership, ultimately coming to this young bellboy named Zero, who would ultimately grow up to be F. Murray Abraham. Very fascinating story, beautiful art design, and I just absolutely love this film. It's a tremendous film. I had seen it a long time ago, had waited a long time for this Criterion edition to come. I have a older Blu-ray of it. I picked up this Criterion edition when it finally came out, and I had a chance to recently rewatch it, and it is an absolutely brilliant film. Of course, you look on the inside, similar to all other Criterion editions, you have this wonderful, wonderful art. Absolutely beautiful. And on the inside, here's what you have on the inside here. And then check out these contents. Grand Budapest Hotel, there. Beautiful. Romantic poetry book here. And then, of course, you have this fold out, which shows beautiful picture of the hotel. And on the front here, you see Ralph Fiennes' character and Tony Revolori, Gustave, and Zero. Just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love Ralph Fiennes' character in this movie. He plays quite the interesting concierge, and how he serves his customers, particularly certain customers. I won't give it away, but he has a unique brand of service to his customers. So the Grand Budapest Hotel is a fantastic addition from the Criterion Collection, and it is a wonderful, wonderful film from Wes Anderson. So these are the 4 films that I would highly recommend that you check out from this great filmmaker. Rushmore, The Royal Tenenbaums, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and the Grand Budapest Hotel. But let me know in the comments below, if you were to recommend to someone a title to watch from Wes Anderson's filmography, what would that title be? Those are the 4 films that I'm presenting here in this Taste of Director series, but I'm gonna also show you 4 other films that I have in my collection from this great filmmaker. Of course, you have Moonrise Kingdom, which is a fantastic addition from Criterion. This film was from 2012, great film. Of course, Bottle Rocket, which is featured up here, is his first feature presentation. This is one of the early Blu-rays from Criterion. And the other stop motion film from Wes Anderson, this is long overdue for a Criterion release, so we will keep our fingers crossed that we'll see that pretty soon, Isle of Dogs. And of course, the most recent addition from the Criterion the most recent release from Wes Anderson from Buena Vista Disney is The French Dispatch. This is a very interesting film. This is the first review and video that I put out on my channel for 2022. Definitely check out The French Dispatch review. And those are the films that I have in my collection from director Wes Anderson. Let me know in the comments below what you think about these films. What are your favorite films from Wes Anderson? And what titles would you recommend from his filmography to someone who's never seen a Wes Anderson film? What title should they see first? Let me know that in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time with the movies. Peace.